To the NFL here after a disappointing 2025 season for Joe Burrow and the Bengals that saw the team go 6-11. Cincinnati got busy this offseason, beefing up their defense, headlined by the acquisition of Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. The additions haven't just excited the fan base, as Burrow is now feeling confident as well.
I think this is the most talented roster that we've had since I've been here. I'm pretty close to Bengals franchise touchdown record. I think I'm like 50 or something away, so that'd be nice to break this year. You always want to be MVP of the league, Super Bowl MVP, win a Super Bowl, all those things.
Joe Burrow listing off his goals for this season, says he feels like he has the most talented roster. Stephen A., do you think Burrow and the Bengals can get back to the Super Bowl?
I wouldn't go that far because I don't believe in their defense. I got to see it to believe it. I know they drafted an edge rusher out of Texas A&M number with the 41st overall, number 41 overall pick. I know they acquired Dexter Lawrence from the Giants and gave away the 10th pick in the draft to do that. So you expect them to be able to get to the quarterback, losing Trey Hendrickson, but picking up those two dudes. You do expect them to be better at getting to the quarterback. I don't know if it addresses their offensive line, though, which is a problem because they were the 28th ranked offensive line in the National Football League last season. We know they have a problem protecting Joe Burrow, and if you don't protect the franchise, you know what, you ain't going anywhere. And we know how injury-prone he's been due to lack of protection. And since 2020, Wilbon, I believe it is, I think he's like the fourth most sacked quarterback. You know, he's been sacked about 213 times. He's been slaughtered. And so that is why there was some trepidation about his willingness, his excitability about playing football. He gave people the impression he was contemplating retirement, for crying out loud, because of how bad he was getting beat up. So when I see a team that has a Jamar Chase, a T. Higgins, you know they have an elite offense. But did you upgrade the protection for Joe Burrow? That's number one. And did you do something for your secondary? That's number two, because their defense was horrid. All of those are question marks. Total defense, 31st last year. Scoring defense, 30th. Run defense, dead last. Third down defense, they were 28th in the league. Red zone defense, they were 24th. These are problems. And, of course, having some guys to get to the quarterback can help it, but that doesn't cure it. And that's what we're looking at right now. Again, your secondary. Is it going to be better? And number two, did you buffer your offensive line to protect Joe Burrow more? Those are the two interesting questions about Cincinnati.
Yeah, see, we had our only loud disagreement of the day over Elway and that bad man, because we're going to agree down the line again here, Stephen A. So, you know what, you mentioned the secondary, and they did draft in the third round Tacario Davis. But he's going to have to step in and play a lot, if not start. Cassius Howell's going to have to step in and play a lot, if not start. We talk about two rookies they'd have to depend on to buttress that awful defense. And I completely agree with you. I don't see any of this stuff. I understand where Joe Burrow is coming from about having a talented team and being glad that he has that. And when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to throw to, yes, they can break all kinds of scoring records in Cincinnati. They can throw all kinds of touchdown passes. It doesn't mean they're even going to be as good as, and I don't have them being better than Baltimore in their own division. So could they be a second place? Could they fight it out with Baltimore in their own division? Sure, of course they could. But, you know, look, Cincinnati, it's interesting. So they've had quarterbacks who maybe weren't Joe Burrow, but, you know, they've gotten to the Super Bowl each one time. Kenny Anderson, who at the time held the league record for pass completion percentage in a season, Kenny Anderson got to 1. Boomer Esiason got to 1. Joe Burrow's been to 1. I'm not about to turn Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals into the 49ers. I don't see them, you know, necessarily lining up for multiple trips, Shay, to the Super Bowl.
I hear what you're saying. I will say this. I think a lot of this, forget how talented, how many people they've signed in free agency and through the draft on the defense, this depends on Joe Burrow's health. If Joe Burrow is healthy, the Bengals can win football games. Also, the only head coach that is remaining in the AFC North is Zach Taylor. The only team that has familiarity there now becomes the Cincinnati Bengals. They've missed the playoffs three straight seasons. If they can find a way to keep the quarterback healthy and keep some consistency and get a little bit bit better on defense and a little bit better at the line.
A lot better on defense.
They played a lot better at the end of the season last year, though.
Still
so can they
wound up
build
30
off of
and
that is what I'm thinking about.
We're presuming a lot.
Well, let me say this to you. You talk about John Harbaugh. You talk about John Harbaugh being gone, Mike Tomlin being gone, obviously Kevin Stefanski being gone. You know what? Just because Zach Taylor is still there doesn't mean he deserved to be.
I agree again.
Tell you that much.
Yes.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
Last time the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, it was in Los Angeles. Where is the Super Bowl this year? In Los Angeles. We stay in the AFC North. The Browns head coach Todd Monken praised quarterback Shedeur Sanders' development on Wednesday, saying, quote, I think Shedeur's come miles in terms of his progressions, getting the ball out, his understanding of concepts, end quote. Sanders and Deshaun Watson split first-team reps on Wednesday during practice. Watson is finally healthy after suffering an Achilles tear in October of 2024. Meanwhile, Sanders is looking into the Browns' starting quarterback job after starting the final 7 games of the 2025 season. We remember that. So what is more likely here? Shedeur Sanders becomes a franchise quarterback, or Deshaun Watson resurrects his career, Will Bond?
Shay, these seem both unlikely to me. Deshaun Watson, it's been a long time. It's been, what, like 6 years since Deshaun Watson was a factor on a football field? There's so many things that go into the question about Deshaun Watson. Have the skills eroded? The skills that we once saw that made him comparable to Patrick Mahomes. It seems like you shouldn't even speak that sentence. Does he have any of that left in him physically, right? Not playing and going through all the controversy that he's been involved in, that he brought to himself in his own life. Can he get through that? Will people let him? Will the community of Northeast Ohio accept him as the starting quarterback? There are all kinds of things that don't have anything to do with football, and then there's football. I don't know enough about Shedeur Sanders to know if he can play yet. And I'm not accepting Todd Monken's just word for it. He's going to have to show a lot better than he did in those starts at the end of last year. The Cleveland Browns are a bad football team.
So answer the question. Which is more likely? You're skating.
I want it to be Shedeur. I'm afraid it's Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson resurrects his career. Stephen A., what do you think?
I think it's Deshaun Watson. It's not to say I don't believe in Shedeur. But he's got a long way to go, and we wish him nothing but the best. With Deshaun Watson, there is something to be said about the fact that you once did it at a high level. There was a time where we talked about Patrick Mahomes, and then after that, Deshaun Watson's name was coming up because he looked that elite in Houston. And we understand that. We haven't seen that since. In his 4 years in Cleveland, he's only played about 19 games. 19 of the 68 games. You know, he's only played about 19 games in 4 years. So, but they've invested this money in him, $230 million guaranteed. And so because of that, you have to look at it from that standpoint and say, okay, this is what they're doing, this is how they're doing it, this is where they're going. And you got to live with that. My mentality is that with all of that being said, in the end, it still comes down to what's he going to bring to the table. And, you know, they're going to give him every opportunity because they want to justify the dollars that they've invested in him. And if you've done it once before, Will Bond, it's not like an injury derailed you. Like his game, the disappearance of his game, of the productive manner in which he used to play, that wasn't due to injuries.
No.
That was due to other stuff. So somehow, some way it got into his head, and it really, really derailed his performances. One would like to believe he could get that back. And I think Cleveland's hoping for that, too, and they're going to give it every opportunity. And that's why I say Deshaun Watson instead of Shedeur Sanders.
And you know what, Stephen A., we got to underline that $230 million. We know in every sport, management, particularly people who made certain big controversial decisions, they have to want to see those decisions justified.
Do you guys understand, though? While I agree with the Shedeur Sanders, we don't know enough about him yet.
We don't know much.
It would be kind of a sports miracle to see Deshaun Watson resurrect his career. He's ruptured his Achilles not once, but twice, in addition to having issues with his shoulder and his leg. Who comes back from that and can resurrect? He hasn't played 10 games, Stephen A., as you said, since 2020. Like, this would be something we've never seen.